With all the resources the Arizona Cardinals put into the defense last offseason, one thing still remains abundantly clear for one reason or another. You can't trust much on the defense. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast platform. This is the final installment of the Trust, Can't Trust mini-series. Thursday and Friday of last week, I did what you could trust on offense, what you couldn't trust on offense, and then yesterday, what you could trust on defense, and now what you can't trust on defense. This is position group / coaching today. And it's going to be a counterpoint to what I discussed yesterday, where I kicked off the show where saying you could trust Josh Sweat. First segment today, you can't trust the pass rush. Yesterday, I said you could trust Budda Baker. Today, I'm saying you can't trust the DB group as a whole. I'll explain it all. Finally, can you trust Nick Rallis? There's a question mark there for a reason. So I'll break this all down. Thanks to everybody who's supported the 2 days that we're doing now, the Cardinal Squad Show, everything of the like. It's on the up and up from here, man. And it's already way up. So just happy to be here and privileged to be able to do this for you guys every day. Now, twice a day. With that said, you can't trust the damn pass rush. So Josh Sweat, 12 sacks last year, 11 and a half, 12 sacks. He came over, signed a 4-year, $70-some-odd million deal with $41 million in guarantees, which is pennies on the dollar compared to what top-flight guys make. Josh Sweat did his part last year. Calais Campbell did his part last year, and that was about it. Zaven Collins, no. Baron Browning, regressed. Jordan Burch, numbers-wise, looked okay for a rookie year, but it was his rookie year, and, you kind of give him a pass. But by and large, the Cardinals' pass rush was non-existent the second half of the season. Didn't have that dog outside of Josh Sweat. And if you don't have an all-pro elite guy like, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, or, whoever it's going to be, Nick Bosa, whoever it's going to be, you need 2 Josh Sweats. And that's attainable. That's not a, that's not a unicorn situation. You can definitely obtain it, but Cardinals didn't have it. You can't trust a 39-year-old interior defensive lineman. Like, you can't make him be, the flag holder leading the charge. Walter Nolan, unfortunately, he only played a couple games. He looked good in those couple games, but you can't trust him because he's been hurt. That's going to be a common theme today. That's going to be a common theme. Even with Mack Wilson from the second level of the defense, he is a great situational pass rusher. He was hurt. You can't trust it in this respect. I said you could trust Mack Wilson yesterday. You can, but as pertaining to the pass rush, as a tangential member, you can't. And I'm talking about this existentially right this second, February 24th. This isn't like, oh, well, that aged poorly if they do well. I'm talking about right now as the roster is currently constructed. It's an exercise to show how far away they are, but if you add a couple pieces, you'll be right back in the mix. The sack numbers weren't great. The pass pressure numbers weren't great. And I always say, you can't win without, if you don't protect the quarterback, nothing's going to work. A close second is if opposing quarterbacks are having tea parties in the backfield and they're able to pick apart any defense, because any NFL quarterback with 4 or 5 seconds will find somebody open. Any quarterback with 3.5 seconds in this league would more than likely find somebody open. So it's a matter of, hundreds of seconds. And the Cardinals just had zero ability to put pressure on both sides of an offensive line to get home. B.J. Ojulari came back late in the season. He's been out for almost 2 full seasons. So we'll see what he's like in camp. All of this can flip. If you have your starters playing 80% of the snaps, 90% of the snaps. They're going to need to add a veteran pass rusher, at least. You're going to need to draft a pass rusher, at least. I'm not saying take him at 3. They've got many picks. But they need to add to the pass rush room. I would argue, and I have, the most important this offseason and paralleled with the most important position groups, offensive line and pass rush. 1, 2. Add to the offensive line, draft an offensive lineman as high as you can. Add to the pass rush room, draft a pass rusher. You can do it. They've got money. They've got picks. I think the biggest wild card here for 2026 is how long Walter Nolan's out. He showed right away in that Dallas game. He had a sack, he had a tackle for loss, he had a pressure. The dude's going to be a mauler. He's going to be a mauler, okay? He's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler if he can stay healthy. And that'll change so much. That'll make the sheer edge rusher's job so much easier if you're getting that internal pressure. Calf, out. Came back for a couple games, out. Surgery at the end of the year. Not a great sample size. Can't trust it yet. The only person in the pass rush room you can trust is Josh Sweat. So while you've got your guy for the next couple years, he's making pennies on the dollar. He's making $10 million guaranteed a year, which is nothing for a pass rusher who has 12 sacks a year. They need, it's not a backup dancer, which is a phrase I use a lot. Like Jalen Thompson's always been Budda Baker's backup dancer. You know, like they're work in tandem, but Budda Baker leads the charge. You can't, it's not about finding a backup dancer for Josh Sweat. It's about finding an equal. It's about finding an equal. And you can get one like a Jadeveon Clowney. I'm not saying him, but a journeyman pass rusher who will go for 1 year, $8 million, 2 year, $15 million and line up opposite him. You just need a dude. You need a guy who's been seasoned, who's been a vet. Like, this is what I'm talking about with the DB group also in the next segment. Nick Rallis needs as much proven talent in 2026 as possible. I understand the idea of drafting David Bailey, Ruben Bain. I get it. I understand the genesis of drafting a pass rusher at 3. I understand it. And also, having a guy who may have a rookie wall is not something that will benefit the defense in 2026 for Nick Rallis. Short-sighted, of course. 100%. And that's also coupled with the fact that I think drafting the best right tackle is what the Cardinals have to do. Their offensive line's terrible on the right side. Yeah, but pass rusher, best player available. You don't draft for need. It's pass rusher. Listen, they have 40% of an offensive line. It can be best player available and need. Like, I don't understand why every offseason we have this amnesia. It's like, I forgot what happened the last 18 weeks of the season when the Cardinals could not keep Jacoby Brissett protected for an entire game. Now, don't worry about it. 5 years in a row. With that said, the Cardinals have ample amount of money. They've got all their draft picks. They can fill out the pass rush room, and they're going to have to. With a proven name, or if you want to draft a couple dudes in the second and third round, whatever it is, they've got to figure it out. Baron Browning seems to have pumpkined. Bija Ojulari, still incomplete. Zaven Collins may not be an Arizona Cardinal next year. So they got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out quickly. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. You can't trust the DB room either. You can't. You can trust Budda Baker, not the DB room. We'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Home Chef. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying a simple routine. It's complex. They're trying to simplify it. And dinner's a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule, 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. It saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. It's easy. Join the Everyday Club, man. Links in the description. Ad-free audio content. Members-only Discord. It's fun. Got a lot to talk about. Combine's coming up. Free agency. Draft. Camp. Like this offseason, last offseason was the quickest it's been, and I think it's going to be quick with anticipation this offseason too. Even during the dog days, during July, there's going to be so much to talk about. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'll be here for you every day. Can't trust the DB group. Predominantly for this, it's compounded with injury, okay? It's compounded with injury. Jalen Thompson, taylor-demerson, Garrett Williams, Will Johnson, Max Melton, 5 dudes of the 7 that they rotate. Sean Murphy-Bunting and Starling Thomas were out before the year started. So of the 9, 7 missed time. And it's not like a game. Like Garrett Williams missed a lot of time and then, went down with an injury at the very end of the season. TBD on that. Can't trust it. Will Johnson, here's the thing. Just like Walter Nolan is going to be it's not the wild card because when he plays well. He's going to be the catalyst for something going well or something going poorly. And it's going to be predicated upon injury. Same with Will Johnson. Will Johnson is set to be CB1 like we haven't seen with this Arizona Cardinals team since Patrick Peterson. He's set to be that if he can stay healthy. And this isn't a Monty thing where it's like, oh, I can't believe we drafted Will Johnson. He missed so much time in college. He missed half a year in college. He still had more pick sixes than he had multiple pick sixes in the same year. It's like, dude, the guy Saquon Barkley is a DB. He's a home run shot waiting to happen. He just needs to stay healthy. He showed last year, outside of, as I mentioned, the one game against Houston where Nico Collins ate his lunch, there were no oh-no moments. Couple holding penalties, couple legal contact penalties early on. He's a handsy corner. I mean, it's not an original story. But he's the catalyst. But you can't trust it because he hasn't been healthy. He played a good chunk of last season, and what you saw was good. But it's not like he was Sauce Gardner right out the gate. It's not like he was Marshawn Lattimore right out the gate. Marshawn? Yeah. Marcus and Marshawn Lattimore, running back out of South Carolina and the DB from the Saints, and now where he is, Washington. When it comes to the DB room, especially with Jalen Thompson's uncertainty, he's probably not going to come back. You're going to supplant him with taylor-demerson. You've got Keaton Crawford as the third wheel. This is like the perfect year to draft Caleb Downs too. This is the perfect year to do it. And they have so many other needs. Like if Jonah Williams worked out and Will Hernandez worked out and they've got their offensive line and, maybe, Walter Nolan was healthy and, they had some sort of pass rush alongside Josh Sweat, you could totally rip Caleb Downs at 3 and just put him into Budda Baker, put him alongside Budda Baker and then have him move over to free safety when Budda Baker leaves. It's like, oh, it's a perfect time for it. But luckily next year, there is going to be the deepest draft Summer Zang ever. Multiple positions. So the Cardinals will be in good shape. We'll see. Starling Thomas, I apologized multiple times in 2024 about overlooking him because he had a career year. And it wasn't, peppered with, interceptions and pick sixes and scoop, and fumble forced and sacks and stuff like that. He just looked like a good corner. And he's going to be a good corner for this team. So he's going to level up this group next year. But when you look at what they like to do, if Garrett Williams misses time, they're going to have to figure out what that demon lineup looks like with Will Johnson on the outside. Is it going to be Max Melton? Is it going to be Starling Thomas? Is it going to be Denzel Burke opposite Will Johnson? You run 3 safety sets. I don't know who's going to play in the slot. I don't know who's going to drop down to nickel. I don't know who's going to do that if Jalen Thompson's gone. If Garrett Williams is back, then obviously that's going to be his role, and then they would formulate it differently. But with how much uncertainty there is in that group, all those questions, I just littered off like 8 different scenarios. On top of the injuries from last year, on top of Garrett Williams being injured when he got drafted, and that's why he dropped to the 3rd round, on top of Starling Thomas coming back from a season-ending injury. Who knows what's happened with Sean Murphy-Bunting? I think they need to add a veteran piece there. And not like a Sean Murphy-Bunting who was, okay for a couple years or he was good in Tampa Bay when they won a Super Bowl, and then he, played well. He underwhelmed significantly when he was in Tennessee, and then he signed a 3-year deal, and he hasn't really been. He was getting beat like he stole somebody's lunch money the first year when he was healthy here, especially on deep balls. So, add somebody. I don't know if they're going to draft somebody. Like, they're young enough. They don't need to draft another corner unless there's a stud in the 2nd round or 3rd round that drops that, should have gone around high or something like that. But they need substance. They need to bring in like a Stephon Gilmore from when he got traded to Carolina or when he went to Indy. Like, he can be older as long as he has some sort of juice left, not only to put on the field, but also be able to kind of mentor the younger guys. It's like, they need that glue guy in the DB room, because while Budda Baker is that guy for the DBs, he plays safety. It's different. I know that, he's coaching up everybody. He's coaching up pass rushers. But they need a contingency plan if my tinfoil hat thing about his tweet, the last game of the year at home last year, comes to fruition, that he's going to want to move on and he's going to want to get traded. I don't know. He was at the breaking ground of the new facility. So maybe I'm just, tinfoil hatting, which, it's fun sometimes. Regardless, they need to bring in some age into that group. They need to bring some age. There's going to be cap casualties all over the place coming up, where the Cardinals can nab a good corner to go alongside. Like let's talk about, seriously, Garrett Williams is the elder statesman of the group. He's been in the league 3 years, 4 years, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. This will be his, 4th year. Denzel Burke, young. Max Melton, young. Will Johnson, young. Keaton Crawford, young. Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, young. Starling Thomas, young. They don't need any more youth. They need dudes who have miles on their tires in the NFL, who can come in and adapt to Nick Rallis's, Looney Tunes scheme and make some impact plays for this team. So with all of that, you can't trust the pass rush. You can't trust the DB group. You can't trust the leader of those groups. But the leader can only do so much, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. You can't trust Nick Rallis? Question mark? Discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel's giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future. You'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already on the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is a perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year. Whether it's picking a team to win it all or grab a conference title, it's that extra layer that it adds for extra excitement down the stretch. And now not only can you pick cash, but it can also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. YouTube channel subscribe, Big Dumb Face. Nick Rallis. Can you trust him? I cheated. Out of the 12 segments in this little mini series, whatever, I only did 11. And this one is going to be op-ed. This is going to be questions. I don't know this answer. Can you trust him? Empirical evidence would lend you to think of late, no. Empirical evidence would also lend you to think body of work-wise, yes. And this is not a win-loss thing, okay? Because if it were, the answer is no. This segment would be 30 seconds. I'd say, why the hell did they bring him back? And I'd say, and scene, cut to the credits. This is why I lend to think yes. If I had to pick, this is why I lend to think yes. Let's start at the beginning. 29-year-old linebacker coach, fresh off a Super Bowl appearance, comes over, first DC job, Jonathan Gannon, week 1. And for those that don't close your eyes, you don't have to close your eyes. What am I talking about? Think about the uncertainty going in to the 2023 week 1 kickoff. Josh Dobbs had been an Arizona Cardinal for less than 2 weeks. They went on the road to play the Washington professional football team. Sam Howell was the quarterback. And we all witnessed for years before that, the Arizona Cardinals under Cliff Kingsbury. Okay. Who is Jonathan Gannon? They probably should have hired an offensive guy. What's Drew Petzing about? They're just going to run the ball. That's boring. It's Kyler Murray. You go into that game. And for me, at least, this isn't revisionist history. This isn't any sort of confirmation bias. I said this right away in the first quarter of that game. Oh my word, this team looks different. And they lost. I think it was like 19-17, 17-15, 19-16. It was a weird score. Oh my word. This team is hitting harder. Oh my word. This team is playing with urgency, especially on defense. Oh man, who are all of these players? Because remember, they had nobody on that roster. And it was like, who is this? What is this team? Nick Rallis. Okay. And Jonathan Gannon, obviously. The urgency was obvious. Now, sure, it was the first week, brand new team, brand new head coaching staff. Obviously, you're going to play like it's a Super Bowl. I get that. It never wavered that entire year. They beat the Cowboys week 3 that year, I think, when the Cowboys had put up 700 points already, and the Cardinals beat them. That team with Josh Dobbs, I think it was week 3, week 4, week 5. It was something like that. Giants were week 3. I don't know. It was a long time ago. Never wavered. So immediately that level went up. Didn't translate to a lot of wins. They had a bad roster. Kyler was out. But the defensive intensity was there. Now, you can put that on Van Joseph, you can put it on Cliff, you can put it on whatever you want to. You can put it on the Easter Bunny. I don't care. It was different immediately. And as much as for those that don't think Nick Rallis is the right choice, you have to admit that it was completely different. The intensity was like, oh man, this is so refreshing. This is where it starts. This is the pivot. Okay. So 2023, they win a handful. They win 4 games or something. It was fine. And then you go into 2024, it stayed the same. Get some better players. The roster wasn't amazing, but you got some better players. Okay. You were competing, had a couple scores on defense, go into the bye week, 5-3, leading the division, falls off a cliff after that. But they weren't giving up 30 burgers. I know the game in Carolina got out of control in overtime. There was a bunch of points scored there. But the defense was holding their weight with the same intensity that they were playing the year before. So that becomes the commonplace, which is a far cry from what it was in years past. And then this past year, 19 points a game given up. First 5 games, they're 2-3. I'm not sure what else the defense can do about that. They go to Indy, give up, under 30 points, team that's undefeated. And it was less than that, but they scored they just marched down the field, scored a touchdown at the end of that game because the offense couldn't stay on the field. And then Green Bay, they should have won. I mean, they should have won that game. It was 4th and short with 5 minutes left, and they run Jacoby Brissett up the gut for a quarterback sneak with against a defensive line that was running roughshod. I think they'd sacked him 5 or 6 times that game, and they had nobody tush pushing him. So it was him against a bunch of grown dudes on the other side and an inferior offensive line for the Cardinals. And then they blank Dallas, pretty much. Then they give up 6 offensive points to Dallas. And then everything changes. So halfway through the season, when they were at their healthiest, first couple weeks, and then the week after the bye week, when Walter Nolan was back and people were healthy, the defense was really good. Like, really good. You know, even take away Green Bay and Indy, sure. Maybe they were a little leaky there. Those two teams had one loss combined at that point. And then everything changed. Seattle, nightmare. San Francisco, nightmare. The Rams, nightmare twice. Atlanta put up points. And that's where the question is, which is the actual thing? What's the actual version? And obviously it's not going to be black and white. It's not going to be one or the other. What's the percentage of what we saw from the beginning of 2023 until midway through, or a little after midway through 2025, or the second half of 2025? Which one is actually what we're going to experience more times than not? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And for me, the biggest outlier down the stretch was the injuries. And I'm sorry, it sounds like, can be getting tiresome to talk about that same thing. But if you're trying to validate Nick Rallis, it's part of the story. It's part of the story. So if it doesn't work, you let him go. I think for me, trust goes more than just calling the plays and running the defense this year for Nick Rallis. They needed a head coach of the defense. He was the safe choice. And safe doesn't mean bad. Safe doesn't mean wrong. Safe also doesn't mean they should have hired somebody else. Safe means he knows the players. They know his defense. There's mutual love there. He's the bridge, and he said in his reintroductory press conference, I love being the bridge between the new staff and the players and everything. Like that's going to be his role. With a new head coach, bringing in a new defensive coordinator, especially one who's never been a defensive coordinator before, to implement a new defense with a new team and new players and be the head coach of the defense before you've even been the DC of a defense, is playing with fire. Could have been better? Sure. Could have been worse? Yes. All of this obviously will play out through the 17 games in 2026. But the trust of Nick Rallis, yes. Calling the plays and the actual football games, the jury's out. Which is the real Nick Rallis? 2013 to mid-2025, or when the wheels fall off, second half of 2025? But the other trust that cannot be mistaken, where you can trust Nick Rallis no matter what, is the relationships with the players, the relationship between the players and the defense that they know, and Mike LaFleur able to lean on someone who's been around the organization for a couple years in a high-ranking position. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you the second show tonight and Cardinal Squad show at 4 o'clock.